Hello, welcome back to Eva J's Mystical Messages. I'm here to go through today's meditation, and I have to tell you, this one's a woozy, as it's gonna be good. Starts out kind of not so positive, but I think that as we go along, you'll see that it actually turns into something very, very positive and something very, very life affirming. Yes, February is behind us. Today is the first day of March, and we're on day number 10 of the new cycle, and we'll see what happens. But here we go. I started out by saying, well, we survived February. Today is March 1st. People are saying something big would happen today. But I think that the something big that happened actually happened yesterday. Nigel, should I feel as though this thing that happened has changed the world? And Nigel says, go with your feelings, love. The world is changing. You are in a time that is unlike anything that has happened since the 1960s. I said, yes, people are making that comparison. Now people all around the world are seeing the absolute breakdown of the U.S. I never thought I would see the day. On one hand, it is heartbreaking, but on the other, it is absolutely not surprising. It makes me ashamed. Nigel says, why? You are not responsible for what is occurring there. Remember what you said regarding the Russian people not being responsible for what their leader was doing during the same doing? The same holds for you. The choices that the U.S. is making is showing the world that for the longest time, the U.S. has thrown its weight around and told people what to say, do, or think. Now, people are beginning to see the bully for what it is. This behavior will reap consequences, not only for the world, but also for the American people. They must now decide who is going to lead the world. They realize that there are some broken institutions in their own backyard. And I said, I think I have known this for a long time. The entire justice system seems to be more and more broken by the day, only adding illegitimacy to the entire thing. I don't want to get political, but everything seems to be political these days. Nigel says, you have been making the decisions that will enable you to move forward contrary to the chaos of the world. I said, Nigel, what can we do as a people? And Nigel says, you must make your decisions and stick to them. Ceasing to drink American cola is merely one thing. You can each day decide to eat and drink German or European-made products. You can make inferences about aspects of your life, put in the necessary changes, and stick firmly to these things that mean something to you. And I said, that sounds like mishmash. Nigel says, it is not. You decided at the start of the year to cease purchasing U.S. bought cola. But instead sticking to the products that are made locally. This has proven to be a very good thing. You have changed one aspect of your life, but now as you go along, you are moving on to others. Use the insights you have to make things from the things you have. The problem is so many people think that they are powerless or that their actions will not make a difference. The reality is, when you make a choice about your life or your experiences, that is a difference. People may not understand that you feel a certain way about something, and when you say something, then they will know where you stand. You mean like when we have our party on Thursday evening and I bring the drinks? I should bring only European drinks like Fritz Cola instead of Coca-Cola. Nigel says, yes, exactly. When you explain to your friends that the purchasing of the German-made cola is your small means of protest, then she will understand what you are doing. People do understand what is important right now. Europeans have an identity, and they are promoting their goods in the world market. This will enable them to have a voice, and that is important. The world is changing and finding a new balance. This has been a long time coming. And I said, I keep thinking about what will happen now. I am, for the first time in my life, deeply ashamed of being where I am from. Nigel says, you shouldn't. You are who you are. The notion of shame implies that you have done something wrong, but you have not done anything wrong. You have simply been trying to let your light shine. It is only when it is darkest that the light shines brightest. You mentioned this with Ramon yesterday, that you longed for the day when Americans and Canadians could be friends. Americans and Canadian people are still friends. The Canadian people that you know still like you. They will not view you as an enemy. They respect you as much as you respect them. However, while the people themselves like and respect one another, the people who are voted into power by the majority of the people are essentially the face of the country. The leadership of that country are the faces of those countries. I said, yeah, like Karen Carpenter gave the world a face for anorexia, and Rock Hudson gave a face to associate with AIDS. Oh God, Nigel, what about diseases? I mean, a child in Texas was transitioning because of measles. What will happen in the U.S.? Will there be another pandemic? Nigel says it is possible. By sticking one's head in the sand with regards to illness does not mean that the illness will vanish. The fact that there are people in power who opposed medical science will have a very diverse effect on that country or people as a whole. I said, I keep thinking of the quote from Willy Wonka, perhaps they will be the wiser. Nigel says, perhaps. The best thing to do is cease denying that medicine does help. It is not a question of entirely giving up the advice of doctors, but perhaps giving up the notion that it can never happen to me. If the COVID pandemic told the world anything, it was to say, yes, this can happen to anyone. And I said, well, look at me and the cancer. I was, before 2017, pretty much of the mindset that I was healthy and all was well in the world. Then I got this diagnosis of breast cancer. It came down and I was stumped by it. I no longer wanted to believe that notion that it could never happen to me, because I know that it did. Nigel says, yes, that is what happens. And it will have to happen to many other people to teach them that, yes, indeed, it could happen. People believe that things only happen to others and often become arrogant in their notion that whatever does happen to someone else, that it would never, ever happen to them. It is equally arrogant to believe that people who have certain experiences, that they are within their right to dictate to others how they should act or behave. This goes way beyond the notion of someone saying to a family member that they should have handled things a certain way, or in the way that the sister or brother or cousin handled things when they, or if they ever had that experience. The reality is people must learn to release the arrogant notion that they have some quote God-given unquote right to dictate to others how they should live. The fact that so many people do that will be the downfall of a society. And I said, you just outlined why I do not like religion. Nigel said, indeed. Religion is a separation from the divine source. It preaches that humanity is separate from the higher power. It says that anything that contradicts their rule book, written by men, not women, would deny and reject the notion of feminine energy. That women are beneath men, that women must cover their heads or not eat certain foods or only eat fish on Fridays. Whatever it is, religion has been the great divider in history. It has given way for things like the Crusades. It has created horrible genocides of people. It has pushed extreme ideologies that rob people of their freedoms and lives. Religion is the sum total of why people do not like or trust those who are not like them. When people begin to understand their divine spiritual nature, they will break down the vice-like control that religion has on people. It will show people that there is a spark of divinity inside each person, that love, not fear, is a better, more conducive way to go. When people start to actually believe that they are beautiful. To you who are watching Yvette's video, you are beautiful. You are a divine creation of the Creator. You have the power within to be the change you want to see in the world. That is a message. That is what people need to understand. With love, you dispel fear. With kindness, you dispel hate. With compassion, you bury the likes of jealousy or envy. When you as a society recognize this, then you will be one step closer to creating a peaceful and harmonious world. That is why what you are doing is so vital. No matter how many people see it or how many views you get, you must never stop speaking this truth. Once you do that, people will understand the power that you hold. When others realize the significance of this small action, then this will grow. Be patient. It is a message that is being shared by many, and it is one that needs to be heard. In doing so, it will raise the vibration of the planet, and hate and darkness will no longer have a place. Remember, too, what you have always said about the best protagonists in your stories. I said, yes, in order to be a great protagonist, I have to write a great antagonist. And Nigel said, indeed, the protagonist is you. The antagonists are the evil and dark forces in the world. The light will overcome the darkness. And contrary to what you may be thinking about all of this, the light will ultimately win out. I know that sometimes you think it makes no difference. It does. The differences you are making is vast and expansive. All you must do is believe that the world will get better. I said, hopefully it will be before we succeed in destroying ourselves. I don't want to lose hope, and I do believe that people like Volodymyr Zelensky are showing us how to be a modern-day David going up against Goliath. I continue to surround him with light. He is becoming one of the great leaders of our time. Things are changing so fast. Nigel says, yes. Did you ever think when you were a little girl that you would have more respect for a foreign leader than you would for the U.S. president? I said no. In all honesty, I did not. I remember as a child watching Jimmy Carter give speeches, and although people made fun of him, I grew to respect him so much, to feel that this man exhumed what it meant to be a great humanitarian. I wish more people were like him. What a truly great man. Nigel says, remember what Fred Rogers told you? I said, about being a helper? Nigel said, yes, Jimmy Carter was a helper. But both he and Fred Rogers believed that you could be a helper too. Let the spirits of both of these men guide you forward. They can, beyond the human experience, continue to inspire you, to help you create a sense and knowing that you can make a difference. And this is when Fred Rogers comes in and he says, Nigel is right, Yvette. Jimmy and I are with you. You must not fear this, just believe it. I said, I didn't think I was special enough for you to talk to me. And he says, you are special. Never stop believing it. Remember, I like you just the way you are. You are truly unique in the world, and the change you are creating is monumental. Remember, I started out in television. You are starting out in YouTube. This is not a big difference. It is a medium that can be tapped into, and you are doing so one meditation at a time. The more you allow yourself to speak with me, the more you will see that this is reality as it is. And at that moment, Jimmy Carter comes in and says, it's true. Be proud of who you are. I can see that 7-year-old child in you watching a speech. And I said, thank you for coming to me, Mr. President. And he says, no, I'm just Jimmy. I said, you are more than that, sir. You are an inspiration to do good in this world. And he says, I am just a humble man from Georgia. Go forward and speak your truth, Yvette. You will succeed and people will learn the truth. And I said, I promise. And Jimmy says, don't promise me or Fred this. Promise yourself. And I said, I will. And Nigel says, do you now understand that you must not ever feel shame about being American? Do you think either of these gentlemen were ashamed? I said, no, they were proud. Nigel said they were secure in the knowing that the act of being from a country did not always mean that it defined what it was like to be American, but to embrace the ideal that people are placed on this planet to do a soul's intention. It is not about a country, but rather about an individual's role in the universe. That is where the pride of love of self comes from. I said, that doesn't liken one to be called a patriot. Nigel said, no, but when you look at the state of things in today's world, does that liken you to want to be a patriot? And I said, no. And he says, there you go. And so I wrote, thank you, Nigel. And I said, thank you, Mr. Rogers and Jimmy, for the messages you have shared with me. It means a lot, perhaps far more than you will ever realize. So that was the meditation for today. And I have to say, I'm very, very surprised that Jimmy Carter took the time to talk to me, or at least just to say a few words to me and to encourage me. The notion of pride, of being a prideful person, I've always felt was not a good thing. But I've also felt that that to be proud of who you are is important. And they taught me that it is important for me to be proud of who I am, and to be a person who can say in all honesty that I am making a difference, and that I have a reason to be proud of myself, and that I don't need to feel shame for the actions of other people, because in essence, the actions that other people take are their actions, not mine. So, with that said, I wish you a wonderful day. Thank you for sticking around, and thank you for subscribing and commenting. And I hope you have a great day, and I hope that you find the joy in the moment, and that all will be well. And until next time, namaste.